Hello, you fantastic people. Welcome back to Borderlands 3 to an overview of the Shlooter artifact. Yes, that's its name, Shlooter. Just came out, DLC 6, Vault Card 2. It's ridiculous. We're going to get into that, as well as it's actually kind of two videos in one. The best legendary farms in this game at the same time. We've made that a few different times for different level caps. I thought I'd bring it back, and we'll compare the best farms in the game versus the best farms in the game when you're using the Shlooter artifact. Which, if you guys haven't used it yet, essentially its effect is, on kill, dramatically increase your legendary drop chance by 1000% for 12 seconds. Non-dedicated loot drops only, aka if it's dedicated like the Garcia, the King's Call, there's plenty of other ones, but they don't get increased. It's just the world drops that drop anywhere in the game. Those are increased like crazy. Now, it was originally on launch night 100,000%, which was actually absurd. I saw a few clips. I didn't even manage to get into the game and try it out before they nerfed it back down to 1,000, which honestly is good because it's still ridiculous at 1,000. Now, if you guys want to get this one for yourselves, like I said, DLC 6 Vault Card 2 is the only way to get it. Level up your Vault Card level, then you get some chests. Open those chests, eventually you'll get some silver keys, and you can purchase the artifact for, I think, 5 silver keys. So do that, and then it'll roll with at least 2 to 3 passives. I'm not sure if it's the same thing with class mods, if it has 2 passives, 1 is doubled. Let me know if you guys do know, but it can come up to 3. Now, you probably want to try, like, late game. Probably your first one, you're just going to take the best one you can get, but later on, you probably want to try and get some good passes on there because you lose a ton of damage not using a Pearl, not using a Victory Rush, not using a Company Man. This thing doesn't give any damage in its actual artifact. You're relying on those passives to kind of keep up, but it is honestly worth the damage sacrifice for a ton of extra legendaries. Now, if you guys really pay attention to the wording of this artifact, on kill, dramatically increase your legendary drop chance. In my head, at least, when I originally read it, I thought you'd have to kill a random mob before you killed the boss that you wanted to get a bunch of legendaries out of. Turns out you can just kill the boss straight away. If you guys want to jump into Graveward's arena after a fresh login without killing anybody but Graveward, you're still going to get the crazy Shlooter effect, which is insanely easy. It's fantastic. Also, I almost forgot to mention, if you guys want to keep track of when the Shlooter is active, there's a green like bar on the left and right side, kind of like the Revolter shield does, to kind of show you how long the 12 seconds is and when you've run out of it, essentially. Not that I think it matters, because as soon as you kill something, you reactivate and get the legendaries, but either way, it has a little showing thing so you guys can see when it is active. Now, I tested this thing out against a ton of bosses, and like I said, I've tested a bunch of bosses for the best legendary world drop chance multiple different times at different level caps, and it's generally always been top 3, being Graveward, Tyrene, and Agonizer. Turns out it's still the same, but the difference with the Shlooter is ridiculous. I also tested against Hermie and Maliwan Takedown, but we'll get into that later. We're going to jump into the top 3 best legendary farms in this game compared to when you are and when you aren't using the Shlooter. Also, I should probably say the quick disclaimer like I did in my old videos. This is on average, from my experience on Mayhem 11, level 72. You're not going to get the exact same numbers that I do. This is after 50 farms on average. So you might get a little less, you might get a little bit more. It's just a general overview, essentially, after 50 farms on those levels. Graveward, after those farms, without the Shlooter, was the #1 best legendary world drop chance. That's not including the dedicateds, by the way. I took all of those out. But on average, without the Shlooter, he drops a 1.6 average legendaries, which is incredibly low compared to what it used to be way back in the day. But if you guys have played recently, or maybe you've just come back, they did nerf the heck out of the world drop chance. So it's down to that. That's kind of like the average, what you can expect from Graveward. With the Shlooter, 5.9 average legendaries, and then again, plus the dedicateds he has as well. So you're getting, at least quick maths, 3 to 4 times as much legendaries world drops per run just by using the Shlooter, which is insane, insane, insane. Also, on top of that, I'm pretty sure I saw 10 and 9 legendaries on 2 separate runs. Sometimes I only got a few, like, 2 or 3, but I've had up to 10 legendaries drop from Graveward alone from one single farm, which is insane. Tyrene, on the other hand, on average, after about 50 runs, level 72, Mayhem 11, without the Shlooter, 1.5 average legendaries, pretty much the same thing as Graveward. With the Shlooter, 4.1, which I felt was really weird. I kind of expected more, or kind of, round about the same as Graveward. She actually used to drop more before the nerf. She used to drop more legendaries on average because she took longer to kill and was the final boss in the game. Now she's about the same without the Shlooter, and is even less with the Shlooter, which is really weird. It's like, 2/3 of the amount of loot Graveward's dropping, which is a little weird to me, but alas. Moving on to the third place, Agonizer was 1.3 average legendaries after about 50 runs, etc., without the Shlooter. So again, very low, pretty much on average as everyone else. You pretty much get one legendary per run. Sometimes you don't even get any. With the Shlooter, 6.4 legendaries. So again, kind of mad confused. The one that has the least amount out of the three without the Shlooter had the most with the Shlooter. So I don't know what kind of pattern it's on. I don't do coding. I don't do Borderlands wizard science. All right, let me know if you guys do know or have heard of somebody explaining it. But to me, that's kind of crazy. So the average winners, from my experience, with the Shlooter is Agonizer in first place, then Graveward, then Tyrene. So if you guys want the most legendary drops in the game with the Shlooter, go Agonizer, go Gravy, and then go Tyrene. Unless, of course, you want the dedicateds. But if you got pure world drops, that's the current leaderboard. Now, originally, I was actually going to end the video there, but I thought I'd try it out against the Melee 1 Takedown as well as Hermie the Raid Boss. Particularly the Melee 1 Takedown used to drop a bunch of world drop legendaries, like, for example, along the bridge. And I really want to see how many they dropped, and particularly the bosses along the way as well. So originally, to compare the pair at each boss, I'll kind of go through it in stages. The Melee 1 Takedown in regular, not true takedown. I thought that'd be probably a more average comparison for most people. I don't really know. But on regular Melee 1 Takedown, level 72, Mayhem 11, etc. The Kraken dropped one world drop legendary. The Kraken doesn't have any dedicateds, but the Kraken dropped one world drop legendary without the Shlooter, and 8 with the Shlooter. That's with breaking its head and all 4 of its legs. 8 times the amount of world drop legendaries, which was pretty insane. The Valkyrie squad, they do have dedicateds. Without using the Shlooter, I got 1 world drop and 1 dedicated. The dedicateds are just completely randomized, by the way. It's not affected by the artifact. Again, disclaimer. But 1 and 1 without the Shlooter. With the Shlooter, 7 world drops and 3 dedicateds. So 7 times the world drops there from the Valkyries. On the bridge, I got 0 world drops whatsoever. I don't think I got a singular world drop throughout the entire run of the Melee 1 Takedown without the Shlooter, which was honestly not surprising. But then with the Shlooter, I was surprised. I only got 3 the entire time. From any enemy that wasn't a boss, I only got 3 world drop legendaries, which definitely isn't anywhere near the amount of world drops you used to get before the world drop nerf, where the rest of the bosses are kind of back up to that. If you're missing the amount of legendaries we used to have drop, put on the Shlooter and you're pretty much back to where it was originally. But the Melee 1 Takedown, for some reason, isn't anywhere close to what it used to be. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I want to say I'd probably average about 10 legendaries on the Melee 1 Takedown from world drop sources. And only 3 was kind of surprising, considering how much more the bosses are dropping. That, the random mechs, the dogs, the Melee 1 dudes along the way of the bridge aren't dropping anywhere near as much as they used to. But alas, I guess, Wotan, on the other hand, completely different story. Without the Shlooter, 4 world drop legendaries and 4 dedicateds, which, to be honest, kind of seemed a little bit low. I feel like sometimes I get a little bit more than that. But that's the kind of vibe we're getting. 4 and 4. World drops and dedicateds without the Shlooter, versus with the Shlooter, 5 dedicateds, pretty much on the same par, 41 world drops. That's with breaking all of its legs, including the head and the brain. 41 world drop legendaries, which is 10 times the amount of world drops. That was ridiculous to me. I don't know about you guys, but I was actually mind blown by that. So essentially, if you're missing the amount of world drops Wotan and the Valkyries used to drop, chuck on the Shlooter, maybe just for those parts. It doesn't seem to do a huge difference through the bridge. You might want to chuck on a normal artifact for your damage to be, up to where it should be for the bridge situation, but maybe just against the bosses, if you want to have a ton of world drop legendaries at the end like they used to, chuck on the Shlooter, they drop insane amounts. As for Hermie the Raid Boss, the big bug from DLC 6, this guy, honestly, I don't actually understand fully what are his dedicators and what are his world drops. I just assume everything from DLC 6 that drops from him is a dedicated. Please correct me if I'm wrong. That's kind of the understanding that I had. But I tested him out not anywhere near as many times as the other bosses. I didn't have that kind of time, but I did test him out quite a few times and took the average from the runs I did. So again, on average. This is the amount of stuff that I got without the Shlooter against Hermie. That's including Hermie and Vermie. Anything that dropped in the arena from those two, I counted towards the final numbers. Without the Shlooter, I got 3 dedicated drops and 3 world drops, which seemed pretty average to me, seemed pretty on par. Now, with the Shlooter, 4 dedicateds and 9 world drops. So 3 times as much, but relatively, you know, compared to Wotan, compared to the Valkyrie squad, not multiplied by as much as I kind of expected, to be honest. But 9 world drops, you're getting 3 times as many. If you guys want to, you can. To be honest, I personally would probably just keep the damage artifacts like the Pearl, the Company Man on so I can get that farm done faster. It's probably more worth it, and particularly with your survivability as well. Unless you have an absolutely cracked build and you can sacrifice your artifact, then perfect. But I personally, I just rather get the bug killed in time. I don't think it's worth the extra 6 legendaries per run when the run takes that long. Also, just for science, I did test out whether or not the Gun, aka Iridian Fabricator, would shoot more legendaries out on its legendary mode if we had the Shlooter effect active. I spent 10k without it on and 10k with the artifact on. I just got some kills on some skags, started shooting the Gun and went back and forth doing that. 10k spent each, they drop the exact same meta legendary, so do not waste your time using that trick. It doesn't work. And that is my guide to Shlooting your way through the Borderlands 3 universe, when to and when not to use the Shlooter artifact, and how many legendaries you get when you guys are using it. Hope you guys found the video helpful or enjoyable. If you did, don't forget to smash subscribe down below, click that like button. Both are totally free, help me out a bunch, and I very much do appreciate it. Other than that, we have a Twitch we stream to every night, and we also have Discord with awesome people. Both linked down below in the description if you want to check them out. Other than that, hope you guys have a fantastic day. I'll see you guys in the next video and a live stream. Till then, adios.